Greetings, Slushies. This is Lisa Zirkle. I'm a senior editor here at Painted Bride Quarterly. Did you know we've been podcasting for 9 years? It's true. This summer, we'll take a deep dive into our archive to share a retrospective of previous notable episodes. First up is this episode featuring poet Jen Siraganian. We're congratulating Jen for winning the 2026 Perugia Press Prize. Her debut collection, Everything Has Been Moved, Even the Dead, is forthcoming in September 2026. Thanks, as always, for listening.
Hello, and welcome to the Painted Bride Quarterly Slush Pile. You have so many choices of podcasts to listen to. We're really glad that you've chosen this one in your lineup. This is the slush pile, and what that means is we read submissions to our slush pile, and we discuss them and have an editorial meeting right on air for you. So we are going to start with introductions. I'm going to do something different and not start with myself. How unusual. And I'm going to go far, far away to Marion Wren.
Hello, Planet PBQ Slush Pile. It's Marion Wren. I'm delighted to be here. I can't wait to talk about these poems, and I'm going to bounce it to North Carolina. Lisa.
Hello, PBQ Slush Pile folks. It's good to be with you today to talk poetry. Very excited to get into these poems, but first I'll say hello to Jason in New York City.
Hi, it's Jason. I am here in New York. Kind of a dreary day. But New York is always New York. And I'll toss it up to Canada.
Oh, thanks, Jason. Hi, everybody. Hi, Slushies. It's Dagny up in Canada. We're just about done ping-ponging between winter and spring. We love that because it means we get lots of maple syrup. So, yeah, but now it's like, okay, bring on spring. So with that, I'll roll it down to Kathy, who's not used to going in this order.
I know, but you know why I wanted to do it? I'm Kathleen Volkmiller, and I co-edit the magazine with all these lovely folks. I'm so grateful. And I'm also grateful for the co-op system at Drexel because we have wonderful people working with us. So today we are welcoming our newest editorial co-op, Jody Gahn. Hi, Jody.
Hi,
Welcome,
Jody.
Hey, Jody.
Hello, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I am the new co-op. As KBM said, I'm very excited to be here.
Yay.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Thank you. And we also appreciate Lillie Volpe, who is here as our tech, I don't know, VCAP. What do you want? What's your title, Lillie?
Yeah, VCAP. That's my title.
Podcast engineer.
Pretty much
What does
podcast
VCAP
engineer. I
stand
do
for?
video collaboration and production. So if you need a video made through
Okay.
Drexel, you come to us pretty much every time. And also we do Zoom support. So if you're at Drexel and you need Zoom support,
But only if you're at Drexel,
Only if you're at
Slushies. We can't
Drexel.
all
I
just call
can't-
in for Zoom
I
support as much as
I
we'd like
can't
to.
help with anyone's account. It has to be
Yes.
just the Drexel one.
Can I
Really
spoof like a Drexel account and then get Zoom help? Can I?
If you somehow get connected, I'll help.
All
Oh,
right.
that's lovely.
Thank
So
you.
I love that VCAP is also like some sort of inversion of like Captain Volpe, right, Lillie? Like I think it's you,
Yeah.
Captain V, VCAP.
I never thought about that. That's not something I thought about.
Okay.
Glad I didn't think
I'm
about
glad to be giving you a nom de plume.
This is what we're here for.
Well, just like we couldn't do this podcast without the help from our co-ops and our editorial team, we also need the poets to keep on submitting the work and keep on saying yes when we say, can we talk about that on air? We occasionally do fiction too, so listeners, send in the work and we'll see what happens next. Today, we are thanking Jen Siraganian for sending us 2 poems that we are about to discuss. So, who would like to read?
I'll try. But can someone
Okay.
explain what it looks like? Like, how would you explain what this looks like on the page?
So every
Well,
time I say the word virgule, everyone looks at me like I have three heads. But the word virgule is just a fancier, older word for backslash.
Backslash.
And what we have here is a prose block that's almost square with frequent interruptions of double backslashes. And so this has become the backslash is, or the virgule is an interesting moment in poetry because if you're transcribing poetry and quoting it in, say, MLA form or in your essay, then you would use a virgule to indicate where a line break was, and you would use a double
right.
virgule to indicate where a stanza break was. But
Right.
for about 100 years, poets have been including the virgule in the poem itself. So if you're quoting it, you're going to have a really hard time. You might just have to like reproduce the whole thing because otherwise the virgules aren't going to line up with the virgules. But
Yeah.
that is what we're actually looking at is a square prose block with frequent interruptions by a double virgule.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that, Jason. I'm sure my brother David and others appreciate it. So they're forward slashes, and I thought that was what it was. I knew one line is a line break, but I thought two lines was a stanza break. So slushies, all of these are two lines. So every single line is not just a line break, right? That means there should be like if Jason said double means stanza
A stanza
break.
break.
Yeah.
But I mean, frequently we're sort of in a moment where people are really taking advantage of. Um, do you remember WYSIWYG?
Yeah.
WYSIWYG is a if you were over 40, you might remember WYSIWYG word processing, which is what you see is what you get. That's an acronym for what you see is what you get. And in the old days, in the very early days of word processing, when you were formatting things, you couldn't see it on the screen. We're now so deep into like a gazillion years of Microsoft Word where you're actually looking at what's going to be printed exactly. You're not, highlighting things and then they're going to print up as superscript or they're going to print up as
Sure,
italics.
sure.
But for whatever reason, in the last like 10 years, or in the last like really like 5 years, but like the last 5 to 10 years, like in the first like sort of iteration of digital transformation with poetry, there was a lot of flash animation. Like if you're looking in like the 2000s, there was like a lot of attention to these kinds of things. But in the last 10 years, there's been like a huge amount of this kind of in the same way that it took E. E. Cummings 60 years after the invention of the typewriter to actually start taking advantage of the kind of choreography on the page and layout. I think you're currently seeing a really powerful trend to take advantage of the layout possibilities of what you see is what you get, word processing. And so just in reading like applications and stuff, this has become extremely common. But yeah, the double slash, is it a stanza break? It would be if you were transcribing Whitman.
Right.
Right, right.
But when
It's
we're reading this
interesting. So,
poem, is it a double? I don't
so
know.
I think the answer, Slushies, is you just have to go to the site,
I have to go look.
Yeah.
pbqmag.org. Check it out. It'll be there, and you can see what we're describing here. So some of these lines, air quotes around the lines, are three words, and then we get the slashes. So Marion's about to read it. What do we suggest she do to
I think
indicate?
I think she, and this is Marion speaking for herself, should put her hands up like she's a little mouse peeking behind theatrical curtains. To say, no, I'm joking.
Well, so
It
the
does look
virgule-
like little curtains on the page, but I'm gonna
This is
gonna-
video. This is audio only.
Yeah, I
This is
know.
audio only, so you can't see the
Maybe
incredible gesture and what
Slushies
it
will
looks like
put it
behind
in
the
the.
curtains.
I'll
There's
ask generative AI to produce that image, and we'll use
oh
it for
god,
We
the.
can actually have you
oh.
do that again and take your photo and put it up on
Okay,
Instagram.
ready? Like a little mouse poking behind
Oh.
the little curtains, just peek at my little
Got
face.
you.
Okay, good. All right. So, Jen, seriously, like I know you don't mean to imply that this is a mouse peeking behind curtains, but it's just fun to be thinking about all of the implications, right, of the virgule, the double virgule in this wonderful poem we're about to read and consider. It's called Walking into St. James Cathedral as if we were already ghosts.
Can I say one more thing before we read?
Yeah.
that also I do think disorientation has become a really key component of many people's prosody. And so I don't want to suggest that like just because I'm sort of giving the history lesson that I have the right answer or that there's kind of a way to lock it down, that I think that the disorientation of it is often part of that process. And so if you're looking at it, Slushy, and you're like, I don't really know how to read this, I think that's often part of the process. I think that's often part of it. That disorientation is something you should embrace, and not feel like it's something that you have to kind of scrub away with erudition or facts, but you should sort of like lean into and enjoy those possibilities and ambiguities of an unfamiliar structure. Sorry, continue.
I love
But
it. So
we're
you two.
we're also really fortunate to have a scholar of the line to
Mhm.
describe all this to us before we even get to the poet. But Marion, continue.
I was just going to say a scholar of the line in Jason and someone who is just embracing the sort of disorientation by thinking of animated mice. Okay, ready? Here we go. Walking into St. James Cathedral as if we were already ghosts. Armenian Quarter, Jerusalem. Inside mosaics chant, lanterns half tip from silver chains, incense lifts tin, a crowned Jesus blackened from smoke, gold reflects gold. A bearded priest tells my father to uncross his legs. We leave before the final prayer, snake along walls of peeled gray, the cemetery door rusted and locked. A half-asleep priest sits nearby, his legs spread to a V. He says the cemetery guard is away. My father points to me and pleads, a tarnished key unveiled, behind a square of olive trees, gravestones layered with shattered platters. A white dog follows us, his nose tasting sky, rows of black crosses, vines heavy with rotten grapes and chips of porcelain, weeds splinter stone. We can't find my grandparents' graves. Everything has been moved, even the dead.
Well
Wow,
read.
lovely
Oh, good
read,
job.
Marion. I
Thank
want
you.
to draw our attention back to form again for a moment, because I think that the form that we've been discussing of this poem, where it's like a square centered in the middle of the page, fully justified, it feels like a miniature to me. It also reminds me a bit of like an illuminated manuscript. And I think that, you know, Jason, everything that you were addressing is around the fact that poets have more choice now in their page layouts and how they approach lineation in a poem to really reflect the content and the feeling of a poem. And this just works for me. It's so beautiful. I feel like I'm holding a little text in my hand that's gold edged around the sides, you know. So I just wanted to add that around the form.
And
I had the same response that like because it's Armenian, because it's the St. James Cathedral, because it's about the icons, and those icons are so often covered with these metallic, beautiful. It's like it's so weird because like you know there's a painting underneath it, and then there's this beautiful metal cover over it, and you can just sort of like the faces just kind of peek through. That there was the
Exactly.
same kind of sense of something overlaid, that you're kind of seeing things that are
Yes.
coming through in this kind of small space with something that's sort of blocking out the rest, but also making what does come through even more exciting.
Exactly, exactly. That's how I feel about this piece. Yeah.
so having read it though, the double virgule feels like cinematic editing, right?
Mhm.
It feels like old school juxtaposition and stitching, scene by scene construction, like image, 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 and the slash really it created it taught me how to read it, frankly, right? Like it was
Yeah.
giving me an indication of the wholeness when I from the first of those marks.
The block of it, the square of it also makes me think of a gravestone.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it looks so heavy initially, but when Marion read it, it didn't feel heavy. I think with the double virgule spacing, um, it doesn't read like a dense block of text.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has a kind of air to it. There's a lightness. And I
Hmm.
think that what Marion said about the montage editing, like the juxtaposition where the two things add up to more than the sum is right.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say is that it sounded better than I was going to. And when I was asking Mary, what should we have Mary do? I was thinking pauses, with those. And I think that's kind of what you did. And it was just beautiful. I was saying is that I didn't know how it was going to sound. And Marion did a lovely job. And that's what I was thinking I would do, maybe those longer pauses in between. It's truly beautiful to hear. And I like the idea that if I only heard it, I wouldn't know what it looked like on the page. Um, After everything that Jason was saying about this format and what's expected and what we being knocked off balance in a way by this unexpected format, I think also works with what happens in the poem. I didn't expect it to go where it went. I didn't expect to get the images I got. I didn't expect it to
Mm.
sound like it does,
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are great sounds within these lines too that you can hear as it's read. The echoes, the tip and silver and lifts tin, just really lovely. It is very poetic despite being a prose-ish block.
Yeah, there's real attention paid to sound in here. There's that whole central part of the piece that we get V and he, me, pleads, key, and trees, but the way that it's done, it's just so subtle.
The ending is just a bang up, like fireworks. We can't find my grandparents' graves. Everything has been moved, even the dead. Like that is so beautiful. And I mean, there are kind of mystic stories about graves moving in cemeteries, that people wanting to be buried next to other people and the gravestones being shifted magically. Um, and it just so like that accumulation of the kind of the age of all of these things, the oldness and the accumulated history somehow is working together with this kind of juxtaposition and echo that I love that even the dead is such a beautiful last moment.
Oh, it's so gorgeous and moving. I wondered on that, Jason, too, if there was an intention behind that everything has been moved, that if you look at this on a larger scale too, um, the Armenian quarter Jerusalem, the age of the people who've been lost and so on, the Armenian genocide. I just wondered too if it's a reflection on what we do to history, right?
Well,
Because
and it can't be true, right? Everything has been moved. Like this church has been here for thousands of
yeah,
years, right? So there's and like the graveyard is obviously still the graveyard. And so in
yeah.
that moment of everything has been moved, we both have that kind of personal sense of, oh, right, like all the things that I'm looking for are all in different places, and yet the place itself is thousands of years old. And so that juxtaposition between sort of like what we know as the facticity or the factuality of the place that we're looking at and that personal experience of, damn it, I can't find anything, is just so those levels of irony are just so beautifully it, structured. Like, I mean, you
Yeah,
just see in both directions with
it,
like, yeah,
yeah,
And
that,
it starts from the title. I just want to point that out,
yeah.
right? The title itself is like walking into St. James Cathedral as if we were already ghosts, right? So it's
exactly.
not only like the displacement of the objects in the cemetery, but also the speaker, themselves, right? Being part of that displacement, right? In their sense of haunting and being a phantom or um, haunting the
Being
space.
in Marion and Kathy's hotel room in Los Angeles. We'll tell the ghost story
Many
between
ghost stories to be
poems,
told. Many
but
ghost
there is a
stories.
ghost story that's coming.
Yeah.
Ooh, fun. Well, and in ghosthood, there's a sense of invisibility too, right?
Yeah.
Not being seen, not being seen properly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the cathedral, has become such a sort of important image of human collaboration, right? The idea of the cathedral is something that's built generationally that no one, gets to see the whole thing in their own lifetime, and the
Yeah.
faith, both in, continuing to build what has been left and in building for the future, that, the sort of the ghostliness of them. What else could you be, right? That if this is a structure that spans endless generations, or we hope endless generations, um, that yeah, the ghostliness, there's no other way to enter it other than with a sense of oneself as a blip in something so much bigger. But to also feel important, right? Like if you're a tile in a mosaic, it matters what the mosaic is.
Yeah, it's resonant.
Right.
Yeah.
Gold reflects gold. So, what do you think? Do you think we're ready to vote? Do you think we're ready to take
Let's
a
do it.
position on Ye
Yeah.
Old Cathedral? All right, get your thumbs ready. Ready? 1, 2, 3, vote. It's always so exciting. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
unanimous. Woohoo!
Oh, beautiful,
Woohoo!
beautiful poem.
You know what? I wish the poet could see dear Jen Siraganian, how we all look with our thumbs up. We look like we're holding virgules. Like we just made virgules of the Zoom page for you. So yay.
All right, tell your ghost story, and then we'll get on to the next poem.
What happened was Marion and I were staying at a hotel that is more than 100 years old. It's called the Hotel Figueroa. Absolutely beautiful, breathtaking place. And it was the first women opened it and ran it because they were angry that there were no hotels that would allow women to stay on their own. So tell them about the pool, Marion, your favorite bit.
So at the Hotel Figueroa, they honor this past, this sort of like progressive feminist politics. The hotel was a site of like, artists and thinkers, and they built a pool in the backyard in the shape of a coffin. And it's meant to represent death to the patriarchy. And then all of the staffers at the Figueroa Hotel these days wear a little silver coffin badge in honor of the pool in the backyard. Right. So
Yeah.
Kathy and I, trundle in with all of our luggage, and we get this amazing room. And full disclosure, I had bronchitis and jet lag. So I was like kind of, sideways. I was a little tripendicular. And at the end of the first night we spent in this room, I woke up with this sort of like vague feeling of some figure being on the left side of the room, standing in front of Kathy's bed. It was just, I thought my Sudafed acting up, and I certainly don't say anything to Kathy about this. And then the next night, we go one full night, full day of AWP. The next night, Kathy wakes up the next morning and.
Can I correct that just a little bit? Because it is a little funny. It's pretty funny. As Marion said, I did go bursting into the other room, and then I was so happy because Marion looked the best that she had on the trip. She was very, wide awake and energetic, looked really healthy. So the experience that I had went right out of my head because I was just so happy to see Marion so well. But then I got in the shower, and then while I'm in the shower, I said, holy heck, I didn't tell her what happened. And I literally came running out to her in just my towel and sat down and said, I have to tell you something. And as soon as I started to tell her, I could see from her face, she had not told me about her, what she had seen. And so for me, the woman was in the exact same corner and was just, and it very much looked like a full-fledged woman, white hair, white skin, and her face was just absolutely impassive. There was no expression to her face. But then she took a couple steps toward the bed and was actually bowing like from the hip. And then I got freaked out. So I started to try to call Marion because I knew that she was in the other room. I was like conscious enough to know that she was in the other room. And I had that paralysis thing where I couldn't wake up all the way, Um, and then I did. And then, so that's what happened. But it was really so interesting that she was in the same corner for both of us. A lot of the physical description was the same. We talked about the history a whole lot, and it wasn't until we were leaving that, like, we're running around opening drawers and making sure we packed up everything, that we found this little booklet about the Hotel Figueroa that actually had pictures of the founders. And we were both like, okay, which one is she? And pointed right at her. Right, Mare?
Yeah, we did. We did. And I can't remember her name. Maybe we'll have to go back and do a little research. I could have sworn.
We'll just
No,
have
we
to go
called her
back.
Martha, but then when we figured it out, I think she was actually named Maud. But
Yeah.
Slushy, stay tuned. We'll do a little like paranormal to get back to you.
That's wild.
Was she a benevolent presence? Did it feel benevolent?
Until I couldn't call Marion's name.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I did not wake up freaked out. I was just like, whoa, who's this?
Right.
And yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so there you are.
Here's
Yeah,
our ghost
so-
story.
There's our ghost story. Maybe we can like add a sound effect, right? Like poetry ghost story sound effect.
Well, did
Merriman.
you say the part our room had this wind blowing kind of sound to it? And that's what we kept saying. We had moaning Martha, you know,
Right.
was around. But it was just an old building trying to have air conditioning in it, right? And it wasn't creepy. In fact, we were saying that we were comforted by that sound and would probably miss it when we left.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you miss it when you left?
I did. I thought about it. I don't know, Marion, did you?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's just an old HVAC system, and
Yeah.
it just kept going like this.
I make that noise all the time. You could just come hang out with me. That's how I breathe.
Big existential sigh, right? I was like, how fitting.
I had to be careful because people like I'm always sighing, and then people think that I'm like disappointed in them. They think I'm frustrated. They think like I have to be so careful not to sigh when it's just the way I breathe.
Well, you know what? Sighing actually feels good. I sometimes sigh and it's just like a good release.
Yeah.
It's like but then people think you're upset about something.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I want to know if the coffin pins that the staff wore were available. Could you purchase a Death to the Patriarchy pin to have as your very own?
You know
We
what?
didn't ask, but they didn't have a gift shop. They didn't have a little, like, even Marion, where do we stay in the East Village? The Standard, sells a few items that are theirs. They didn't have a little for sale thing, but maybe if you ask.
We can, you know what, Slushies, we'll look it up and put a link to the Hotel Figueroa. And if you can buy a pin, do it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I thought the story needed to be told. And now let's get on to number 2.
Absolutely. Okay, so who would like to read the second poem?
I could do that.
Thanks, Dagny.
Oh, my pleasure. My father and I view 2 versions of Arshile Gorky's The Artist and his mother. Lip corners sink, an upturned bowl dripping its contents onto the white of her dress. Her eyes, Armenian saucers of round, outline hollows of darkness. Sharing color only, no overlap of limbs or space, shades of pink echo his coat, her lap, a paleness descends. My father nudges my elbow. He seldom mentions his mothers, the one who raised him, the other who gave him away. I want him to discuss the lack of daisies in the boy's hands, the mother's face swaddled in a cocoon of scarf. Instead, he stands, cloud drifts across the gallery. We bench, in front of the liver is the cock's comb. He points to the ferns feuding with triangles, the thorned stems, breathing blossom.
All right.
Lovely, Dagny.
Oh.
Right.
lovely
Wow.
work to read. Gosh,
Yeah.
there's more light in this one. We were talking about the air in the last piece, and it sort of continues here, I'd say. But it's a much more traditionally laid out poem in couplets, and it's just kind of, yeah, more traditional in that sense.
It's funny because I didn't realize that this painting existed in multiple versions. Like I've seen that, like this used to be I've seen this so many times at MoMA, in at the Hirshhorn, at the like over and over again. If you're looking at a modernism retrospective, like this is up there with Mademoiselle d'Avignon and like Picasso's Blue Period, and it's like right after Fauvism, and there's this sort of like amazing. It's a very muted color palette in like response to kind of like what had been a sort of like really vibrant color palette.
Yeah.
I was sort of like, and I was like, oh, do people still know this painting? But I certainly didn't know that there are more of them. And it's sort of amazing because it doesn't really. I mean, there are descriptions of the painting. The headscarf. Um, the boy is he holding something? I don't remember him holding anything. But it's such a sort of like it's like Whistler's mother. It's sort of this, amazing like touchstone. And it's so intimate with seeing his father and thinking of his father as the boy, not thinking, right? I mean, not like it's the artist and his mother. And so the father gets transposed into the position of Gorky as a child. It's kind of amazing the way that it's sort of like it keeps sort of placing his father into the painting instead of himself, right? That
Yeah.
there's like
Yeah.
and usually if you do that kind of distancing, it sort of pushes someone out of the poem. But in this one, I thought it really pulled you in.
Well, and that stanza is so moving. His
Yeah.
mother's the one who raised him, the other who gave him away. It's just, wow.
Can somebody please help me with the first line? Like I get an upturned bowl dripping its contents onto the white of her dress. Like I can see that. Lip corners sink. My brain won't process that.
I
What does
think
that
it's
mean?
just I think it's just a frown.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's the mother is
Oh,
frowning.
oh,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Like lips, like lip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Lip
like,
corners.
okay.
Yeah.
Really being pulled
Lip and
down.
corners,
Yeah.
corners are a noun, not a verb. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I
Marion,
don't.
I had the same problem when I initially read the poem. I think because it goes to bowl
Yeah.
next. I was
Yeah.
thinking, oh, is it the corners of the
Well,
bowl, like
right.
the edges of the bowl turning down?
Yeah.
So yeah, I see I see where your confusion came in. I had the same
Oh,
issue.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the mother is frowning, and then the
Right.
dress is white, and so it's
Yeah.
sort of dripping onto it.
Beautiful. Her eyes are median saucers of round. Mm.
Yeah.
Echoing the bowl again, which is a nice move.
Yeah, it's a beautiful move.
Yeah.
I really like sharing color only, no overlap of
Mhm.
limbs or space, the way in which the two figures are just
Yeah.
completely isolated but grounded in the same canvas.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and echoing what you said earlier, that phrase, "a paleness descends," it's just such a great way of catching the atmosphere of the painting. Mm. And Slushly, Slushies, I'm looking up "The Liver is the Coxcomb." I don't know that painting. Oh,
You can Google it. Yeah, it's also a well-known. It's more abstract.
yeah,
It's not,
yeah. Okay, got it.
I had a couple of hesitations, like the Armenian saucers of round. I was like, aren't saucers already round? Like, come on,
Mm,
Armenian saucers of something. But round is round. They're already saucers.
mm,
But I love once we get to the dad. Like in the description of the painting, I sometimes felt like a little bit pushed out, but in the description of the father looking at the painting, I was like totally there. That
yeah,
was where I felt the most engaged.
yeah. I do actually also love that line. I want him, line break, to discuss the lack of daisies in the boy's hands. It's just such a quirky desire, right, that the speaker has from the father who's just nudged him, right? I love that detail.
Yeah, it's always a neat move to discuss something that's not there.
Right?
Yeah.
And the verb in that second to last couplet does that refer to the father as the father cloud drifting across the gallery, like to the
Oh,
next painting?
That's what I ended up figuring. So he stands and he cloud drifts across the gallery, right, to
Yeah.
land at another painting, at another artwork. And then we bench, which is a nice
Yeah,
way to
love
say
that phrase.
we
Yeah.
sit down. Yeah, exactly. The liver is the coxcomb. When I looked it up, I recognized it immediately, but it also, for me, so the final stanza leading into he points to the ferns feuding with triangles, the thorned stems breathing blossom, which is beautiful. I love it, but I didn't see that in the liver as the coxcomb, and I don't know if that's a me problem or if is that a me problem?
Well, you know, I had that thought too. I love how we talk about, wait, let me get back to it. So sorry. I love his mother's the one who raised him, the other who gave him away.
Mm-hmm.
Such a quiet, interesting way of saying something that's so important. And and so I was thinking about the lack of something in the boy, you know, and this father is the central figure of this piece, right? So I was trying to make a connection with the lack of daisies in the boy's hands to the father and whatever he was discussing about the mothers.
Yeah. And
He
Cass, just
seldom mentions them, right? He
Yeah.
seldom talks about it.
yeah. And just to link that back to some of what we were like discussing a moment ago, and Jason, I take that point about the Armenian saucers of round, right?
yeah.
The sort of spaces of emptiness, right? And bowls as containers, right? There's like this double move being made, a kind of, who is it, Winnicott, who talks about like parenting as a form of containment, right? So you get that sense of like mother, parent containing the speaker, the desires of the child, and an emptiness, a simultaneous emptiness, you know, around the bowl, right? The image
Yeah.
of the bowl. I really appreciate the like that symbol system in the poem, or that image system.
We have hollow. There's a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
What isn't there?
And
Yeah.
Jody, don't feel any pressure to say anything, but I do want to make space for you if you do want to say anything about the poem. No? We're getting a head shake. Okay, Slushies.
Aw. A good reminder, though.
Yeah, Jody's here with a handful of daisies.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's the way in which the father is turned back into a child by the structure of the painting, and the way her fascination with his experience of childhood and boyhood is sort of being transposed, and there's really interesting reversals of parentage, right? Of who's older, who's younger, who's more experienced, who's more wounded, who's, at what stage. And I think the Winnicott is right, yeah, that it's this question of development and this fascination with how one might stay in one stage or another.
Right. And that, again, the sort of the double reading of both containment and emptiness, right? That both persist. Very cool.
And with that shifting of the father back to childhood too, then it makes that stanza, instead he stands, cloud drifts across the gallery, to me, that really leads into that nicely, kind of continues that nicely, that kind of the child wandering away,
Yeah.
There's a nice development of the floral imagery, because we have the lack of daisies in the boy's hands, and that's what the speaker wants the father to discuss. And yet at the end, he's pointing at the ferns, the thorn stems breathing blossom, which is, kind of this violent and unexpected image, but ends in beauty. So it's a nice finish, a nice end to this floral image. Not as simple as daisies, more complicated, but still getting to blossom.
What's interesting because it's a very familiar image, the rose and the thorn, or the flower and the prickle. Um, but I the surprises in the syntax, right, is in breathing blossom is the surprising form of syntax. But I don't know, I kind of wanted a more exciting image there. I found that a little bit unsatisfying as an ending.
I just love that you said prickle. Prickle is an underused word.
Bringing it back.
Prickle.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Are we ready to vote?
Yeah,
I think we
let's do
might
it.
be. I think we might be. Dramatic tension on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. So Slushies, what you can't see is wait, hold on. I didn't count. Everybody back up. I don't think it's in. I think it might. Oh, I think we might have a tie.
We have a tie.
Tie. This is why I'm confused, Slushies. We got a tiebreaker issue.
Can we give Lillie the
middle. Straight
the
down
deciding
the
vote? Lillie, do you want the deciding vote?
Yeah.
There's this.
Lillie?
Oh, it's in! Oh!
Envy!
All right.
Vote.
Thank you, Lillie.
She shoots,
you,
she
Lillie.
scores.
Lillie, she shoots, she scores. Well done, Lillie.
All right.
All right. And also thank you, Jen, right? These were amazing poems, and I'm delighted that they surfaced in the slush, I can't say it now, slush pile. Surfaced in the slush pile. Jen Siraganian, we are indebted to you. Thank you. And usually we end the episodes with Kathy asking, has anybody read anything or done anything or want to confess anything? So
wait, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Now we can hear
I
you.
think we should definitely start wanting to confess something. Because usually I just say, does anybody have anything to say?
And I'm always like,
but confessions. We should do confessions.
Yeah.
Editor Volk Miller, it has been 2 weeks since my last podcast.
Yes, indeed. Oh, that's good. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, does anybody have anything to say?
I found out I just got a travel grant that I applied for to go back to Scotland and look at runes.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Oh, where are you headed, Jason? Where in Scotland?
Going back to the Orkneys. I'm going to be in Kirkwall, and then because the last time I was there, I didn't get to go to Skara Brae because of the weather. So I'm hoping this time I can actually make it out to Skara Brae. But I was sort of fascinated. I ended up, there were all these runes. And like it's fun. RUNES. I've had this conveation, and many people are like, "What are you saying? Are you saying ruins?
Runes
or ruins?" And I'm like, "No, I'm saying runes."
Runes.
And I'm really fascinated with because I actually found I had a lot of questions about runes, and I hadn't gone to Orkney to look at runes. I'd gone there because it's where Frankenstein goes to build the female monster in Frankenstein. And it was sort of a silly thing to do, but it turns out that was where the answer to all of my questions about runes lay, and so I'm going back to spend some more time with them. And actually, runes coexisted because English letters or Latin letters were not used to transcribe anything in a British language until the 700s. Like during the entirety of the Roman occupation, at no point were Roman letters used, Latin letters used for anything outside of Latin. And then in the late 700s, when missionaries came in, that's when they began transcribing things into Anglo-Saxon, Old English, Welsh, Celts, Gaelic. And so, but the runes came in from Denmark, and so there's this other writing system that's really fascinating, and it coexisted with Latin for a long time. Like people just used whichever one made more sense.
And it made its way right around the world. So you see like Icelandic runes, and you've got Scottish runes, and then you've got them in my sister's collection of tarot cards. I found the runes I trained with. So, Jason, I really am glad that you're going to go study runes, because then maybe I can hire you to tutor me in what sense to make of them.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? We just went off of that and we never wrapped it up and said goodbye to our slushies. We just started our chatting.
Oh, see what happened, Slushies.
So I would just like to say, keep reading. Thank you for listening. Let us know what you think of how we're doing with all of our things. And yeah, love you. Bye. Keep reading.
Love you. Bye. Keep an eye on Jason in Scotland.
Bye, Slushies.
Bye.
Bye, Slushies. Bye. Thank you. That was great.